Welcome to the third session of the Build Your Secure Castle course. This is where you become a professional networker. Today, we're going to learn one of the most essential features of the Fortigate Firewall. Could you guess it right? Yes, policy and objects. Firewall policy is central to many Fortigate features. Many firewall settings ultimately relate to the firewall policies and the traffic they control. Any traffic passing through Fortigate must be associated with a policy. These policies are essentially separate, categorized set of rules that control the flow of traffic passing through the firewall. This rule determines where traffic goes, how it's processed, whether it's processed at all, and whether it's allowed to pass through Fortigate. When a firewall receives a packet, it analyzes its source address, destination address, and saves it with the associated port number. It also records the input interface, the output interface to be used, and the time of day. Using this information, the Fortigate firewall attempts to find a security policy that matches the packet. If a policy matches the parameters, Fortigate takes necessary action for that policy. If the action is accepted, the traffic is allowed to proceed to the next stage. If the action is denied or there is not match found, the traffic is not allowed to pass through. Alright, let's complete our scenario. Please note that this course has been designed for free and hands-on practical learning. So if you encounter any issue during the tutorial, I suggest visiting the playlist link above, and if your problem persists, ask your question below this video. I'd be more than happy to answer your questions. In the previous season, we created this scenario, and each of the VPCs was able to ping a gateway. Let's test it again. Starting with VPCs 1, we receive a reply. VPCs 2, very good. And finally, VPCs 3, or the server. Excellent. Also replied. So based on this, I should be able to ping from the PCs to the server as well. Oh no, why didn't it ping? Let's try the other one. Oh, it didn't ping either. If this were a router, we could easily ping the server. So why didn't it happen in the Fortigate firewall? Let's go inside the firewall to find out the reason. I'll navigate to Policy and Object and enter Firewall Policy. Wow, what's this? Fortigate creates a default rule in its firewall called Implicit Deny, which denies all traffic. The interesting thing here is that you cannot delete this rule. Okay. Traffic is inspected in the firewall as follows. Traffic is examined starting from the top rule, and if it doesn't match any of the higher rules, it reaches the last default firewall rule and gets dropped. Alright, so if we want PC1 to have ping access to the server, we need to create a new rule. We'll choose a relevant name for it. For example, I write ln a server. I want the traffic to enter through port 2 and exit through port 3. Now I can specify whether our traffic should have access. Or I can restrict further. To do this, I hit create, address, and I choose a name. In the type section, we have various options to control the source. We can choose a specific subnet, an IP range, an FQDN or even base on a specific MAC address. Then I'll say the Fortigate graphical interface is intended very user-friendly. Nobody would believe it until they try it themselves. Alright, I choose subnet. Now I can consider a /24 subnet. Or I can just consider a single IP. For example, the IP of PC1. Since I want to give ping access to both PCs, I consider a /24 subnet. The interface on the local side is port 2. I select port 2. You can also add a comment if you like, and that's it. I hit OK. Select the address we created. Now, we move on to destination. We follow the same steps as before for the server side. Since we only have a single IP for the server here, I write it with /32. Okay. In the schedule section, you can specify a time range for this rule. For example, you can say that this access should only be active on Tuesday between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. We've reached the service section. Here, we can either select all or choose only the services we needed. As you can see, Fortigate categories various services by default for our convenience and you can use them as needed. If the service you're looking for isn't here, you can create it easily by hitting Create. Service? For example, I want to create port 5000 on the TCP protocol. I choose a name for it. And select General for the category. I can consider IPN or FQDN for this service. It's not mandatory. You can make this service allow for all IPs. I write the IP of the server. You can simultaneously include multiple protocols with different ports in one service. I just want to create the TCP protocol on port 5000. I can also choose specific source ports. And that's it. In this scenario, I didn't need this service. I just wanted you to become more familiar with creating a service. Alright. I select the service I created and add the ping service to it. Here, I specify what should happen if these conditions are met, whether to allow traffic to pass or block it. I choose Accept. We don't need NAT in this scenario. We can specify to keep a log if these conditions are met. I can choose different modes based on my needs. The topics of logging is very important. We will take more about how to keep logs in this scenario. We can enable or disable this policy. Our policy has been created. This is just one of the instructional videos from the Build Your Own Secure Cassette course. If you found this video helpful, be sure to like it, and if you want to learn network scenarios in a practical and hands-on way, make sure to subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on new videos. Hit the notification bell. Let's test the scenario. I start with PC1. Excellent. And finally, PC2 responded as well. Good. Let's go check its logs. I'll navigate to Log and Report and enter forward traffic. And we can easily view the logs for the policy we created. Excellent.